Alright, so this is how I did the No Ordinary Headache mission with one reactor. So here's my one reactor, and inside we see kind of a mess of stuff, but I'll explain really what's going on here. The basic idea here is that we have a red worker which comes in and attempts to put a nitrogen here, and afterwards put an oxygen here, and when it's done so, it lets the blue worker come in and take this part of the oxygen, move it up to here, and take this part of the nitrogen and move it into the place where it was before. So, just to kind of go over what the red part is doing first. We start here, and what happens is we come in, we grab something, and then we figure out what it is. Now, if it isn't a nitrogen, because the nitrogen is the first one we want, we go ahead and drop it off here where it's going to be recycled. So then we come back and we try again. It keeps going until it finds a nitrogen. Then at this point, it comes through here and drops it off right into this section here. Now, these turns that are happening here are just a sort of delay, which I'll explain later why I put them in there. But for now, what happens is nitrogen gets dropped off right here, and then we break the first bond, so now it has 2 bonds instead of 3 here, so it matches up with the oxygen. And we come back around and grab another one. So now what we're doing is we're looking for an oxygen so we can put it here. If it happens to not be an oxygen or a nitrogen like we see, we come down here and we trash it. And we try again looking for another oxygen. If it is an oxygen after all, it comes through here, and this is just kind of a makeup for the delays that I put here. And it puts it right in here, drops it off, and removes all the bonds. So at this point, all the bonds are gone from here and from here. And at this point, we hit the sink, and the blue worker will start to come back start to come in and do the swapping. But before it does it, the red worker will come here, grab that top one, and drop it off up here. So it's detached. It'll help for the blue worker to do its swapping. And then it continues on its way. So if we take a look at the blue worker, what it's basically doing is it's waiting and waiting and waiting until the red one's like, go ahead and come on in. What it does is it'll grab this one here and move it into this slot here. Now remember, the red worker had moved what was here up into this spot. So after it drops it off, it grabs it, comes back around, drops it off here. So now we have a nitrogen oxygen and a nitrogen oxygen here. We create the 2 bonds that are required, and we output them. And then it comes back here waiting for the red to come back and let him do his thing again. Now, I know we talked about these delays I put in. What happens here is if we put a nitrogen in here and then oxygen in here, and then the blue worker comes in and starts to do the rearranging, during that time, when the red comes back through here, if it were to grab another nitrogen and we didn't have these delays in here, it basically collides the nitrogen here with the nitrogen here. And at that point, I think the blue worker's like still creating the bonds, or he's either just creating the bonds or he hasn't quite hit this spot yet to output it and get it out of the way. So this is just kind of like a turn counterclockwise, turn clockwise, turn counterclockwise, turn clockwise, and is basically, when it gets to this point, it's the same as if it's in the same position as if it was here. But each time it hits one of these, it takes the time to rotate it and keep it in this spot, so it delays it until it gets to here, and the blue worker's finished outputting what it needs to. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we come in, wait a little bit. I'm going to use the keyboard controls here. Speed it up. Okay, so grab an oxygen, bring it around, and destroy it, because we're looking for a nitrogen first. So we come back up. We're still looking for a nitrogen. It's another oxygen, so let's just trash it. Alright, so now we have a nitrogen. So this is just the delay part. Not really important for this part right here. But drop it off. and destroy the initial bond. So now it's a double, like the oxygen that we want that comes in. So we found an oxygen, one that we care about, so we're going to bring it around, put it into place, kill the bonds, and let the blue worker come in and start rearranging. Now, I'll just pause it here real quick. As you can see, another oxygen came in, but technically we're looking for a nitrogen to start the next phase after this is completed, so we're just going to trash it and keep going and waiting until we get another nitrogen. So, the blue worker swaps, creates the bonds, and outputs them, and then waits for the go-ahead again. So, the red's still looking. Still hasn't found the nitrogen that it wants. There's the nitrogen. So, drop it off. Try to grab something else. Another nitrogen. Well, that's not something we want, so let's try and trash it, and we'll give it another shot. There's the oxygen. So let's bring it in. Start its process of swapping, and it's done. Again, another oxygen came through, so trash it, we don't need it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward a bit till we get to the part where I want to show you why the delay was important. And almost there. So, looking for a nitrogen. There's the nitrogen. Found an oxygen. And now, if I'm not mistaken, a nitrogen is going to come in through this one. And there's a nitrogen. So now you're going to see that the blue won't have finished outputting by the time the nitrogen gets to this spot if we didn't introduce these delays. So, the blue's still swapping, and now the nitrogen is being delayed there. It was output correctly, so now it continues on its way. And that's pretty much it. So if we speed this up to an incredibly high speed, you'll see that we complete the mission without any problems. And we're good. As you can see on the histograms here, the elapsed cycles for this one isn't as good as like the best that I have. That was using multiple reactors and stuff, but we have the trade-off of being able to have only one reactor to do all this instead. So, and that's everything. So, thanks for watching.